Welcome to the Town Board and Public Hearing, Thursday, October 20th. Please rise and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emergency exits are to my right behind the town clerk and also the door you came in.
Supervisor Perotti?
Here.
Councilpersons Doyle? Here. Blackman?
Here.
Rabillard?
Here.
And let the record reflect that Councilman Gutierrez is absent at this time.
Okay, I make a motion to go into executive session to conduct interviews.
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Rabillard?
Yes.
My imaginary friend takes up no space.
Could you please sit down and be quiet? Thank you. Make a motion to come out of executive session for regular meeting.
Oh, you need to turn your mic.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll second, because it seems my role in line.
She
Oh, you did
seconded.
already?
She
Good,
did.
good, good.
She did. I heard her.
She's related.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Rabillard?
Yes.
Okay, now we'll have a presentation from Habitat for Humanity. Oh, wow. You're on.
Well, good evening, and thank you so much for inviting me this evening. And Supervisor Perotti, thank you so much for allowing us to come and visit with you and talk about the needs of your community and whether or not Habitat is a good fit for those needs. So I was advised that maybe I should sort of do a primer about what Habitat is, and so I'll try to go really quickly through that. But we are not a short-term solution. We are not a crisis intervention program. We are not a rental program. We are a first-time home buyers program that matches the price of our home to the income of the family. And that family will pay a mortgage for that house, and they will make up the difference between the fair market value of that house and what their income can afford through something we call sweat equity. And we will make up the cash difference through a few small government programs that we are involved in, basically amounting to about 10% of the development cost, and the rest we make up through donations and in-kind contributions as well as volunteer labor. So that's just a real quick primer on who we are, but if I could just call your attention to our presentation. Am I clicking or are you clicking?
Just let me know.
If you go ahead and click. I'm not really good at multitasking, so I love it that you're at the clicker. Go ahead. So we have been around since 1986. We were originally two habitats, one of the Mid-Hudson Valley and one of Southern Dutchess. And in that time, we recognized that we were not doing service to either community, and so we merged. And since then, we've built 36 homes. We've completed 250 critical home repairs. Now, you may wonder, why is a first-time home building program doing home repairs? And as Victoria and I spoke, for every one house that we bring to market for a first-time home buyer, communities are losing 5 to blight. So a big part of that has to do with aging housing as well as aging residents in those houses unable to maintain them, as well as accessible dwelling units. So we do a lot of ramps, and through the, I would say, blessing of Berkshire Taconic, we've been able to do a lot more out here, and we're really excited about that. Most recently, we just committed to a day of service at Tally Hole Mobile Home Park. It's actually where Victoria and I met. She was kind enough to come out and help us that day. And we were able to help 28 families stay in their homes in a safer and more affordable way. We also, as I mentioned, we do have to find gap funds to build these homes, because on average our families are paying $130,000 for a home that has a fair market value of about $400,000. And so we have a Restore, and our Restore is a home goods store, used home goods store, that sells those donated home goods to anyone who might want them, and we net the proceeds of those towards our homes. Last year, we built an entire home with the net proceeds from our Restore. So you can see it's a very valuable use of our resources, but as well, it's keeping millions of tons out of our landfills, which is good for everyone. So we say there are many ways to build a house. You don't have to hold a hammer, and for some of us, that's a good thing. So we liken what we do to helping people work towards their goals. So who's a Habitat homeowner? That's another thing that sometimes gets a little bit muddied in the waters. So they're the people that we called during COVID essential workers. There are home health care aides. There are medical paraprofessionals. They are our entry-level civil service employees. They are our senior citizens because, frankly, when a renter retires in Dutchess County right now, very rarely will their retirement income be able to afford the rent that they've been paying while they were working. There are veterans. We have programs that are specifically targeted towards our veterans. And we have a specific family that we're working with right now. Veronica is a single mom with 3 children. She has, their ages 4 to 12. She is an essential worker. She's a home health care aide. If you've ever had an aging senior that you needed help with, you know that is an essential job. She earns $42,000 a year. There is no way in Dutchess County that she could own a home, and most probably couldn't even rent a safe and affordable and high-end home at $42,000. But in Habitat she can, because we will match the price of that home to her income. Our homes are all energy efficient. We have 1-year warranties on all our homes, and that includes all of the appliances, the mechanicals, the roof. And unlike other homes, and I don't mean to keep beating on this, but we do not price our homes based on the home. We price every single home based on the income of the individual. So 29% of that individual's income will pay for their mortgage, their taxes, and their homeowner's insurance. So each one of us in this room makes something different. If I attach this affordability factor to your income, every one of you would pay something different for this home. And you'll notice that we're using 29% as an individual's gross income. We recognize the high cost of living here in New York State, and so while at the federal level we often say 30%, our board of directors dropped it down to 29%, recognizing the importance of affordability. It is the only home ownership program that utilizes something called a soft second. And so what is that? I just told you that you could possibly pay $130,000 for a $400,000 home. Somehow we have to protect that. We have to protect that equity that's already built into the home, and that's what the soft second is. If for some reason you decided or had to sell your home before your 30-year mortgage was paid, we would recoup the balance of that soft second through the entire 30-year period. So that is a way to protect your investment as a donor, our investment as an organization, as well as any limited government funds that might go into our housing. We also are an economic engine for this county. As you can see, in 2020, we supported over 18 jobs, generating over $800,000 in wages. Our homeowners paid $148,000 in property taxes, and since our inception, they've paid over $5 million in property taxes. I think there's a couple of zeros missing there. Oh, no, that is a comma. I'm sorry. And in 2021, our Restore paid almost $100,000 in sales tax. So we are an economic engine for this community, as well as a service entity to provide affordable housing for our essential workers. What I also want you to know is that while there is a very important role for rentals, and I never want anyone to think we're saying there isn't, I also want you to understand that the children of homeowners are 25% more likely to graduate from college. They are significantly higher earners. They tend to go on to become homeowners themselves, and they are 18% less likely to get involved in anything, even if they're living in difficult communities. They're anything negative that will permanently follow them through life. So that is my very brief presentation. I am here for questions and excited to come. If you feel we're a match for what you're trying to do here in your community, we're excited to come here and work with you.
What are you looking for? What do you want from a meeting?
So we need property for sure. We do go to our municipalities. Very often municipalities own properties, and they're properties they can't use for any other reason. So we're asking for donations. In some cases, there are some fees attached to that, but usually it's a straight donation. We are looking for you to help us build our network out here. As I mentioned, the 36 homes that we've built have not been out here in Eastern Dutchess. However, we anticipate that once people get a sense of what it is we're doing, they're going to be really excited to get on board. We'd like introductions to organizations that might be willing to financially contribute to the mission of the organization. And when I say financially contribute, I mean specifically to that house. A whole house sponsorship is $150,000. And while that's sometimes difficult for people to really chew on, because if I give $150,000 to the food bank, I might be able to feed, 1,000 people for 6 months. If I give $150,000 to one family, that's a lot of money. However, that one family will generate that kind of income into the community, as well as create 2 additional jobs. That's not just me talking. Those are documented research from universities across the country, and it's not just here in New York, it's throughout the country. And if you're not aware of this, we're actually an international organization. Besides having multiple habitats in every state in the United States, we also are in 70 other countries.
Maureen, it was Maureen, right?
Yes, Leo, yes.
The first introduction is to Charlie Miller, who's in the back row
Hi,
over there, who's the head of our workforce housing committee. And we've been making a lot of progress lately, but it would be interesting to kind of coordinate with what you do. So.
Love to, Charlie. Let's get together, okay?
I've utilized restoring Poughkeepsie for a number of years. It was incredibly successful store with very high-end donations. And it closed during COVID. Are they going to reopen?
Oh no. We closed for 8 weeks during COVID. We were considered an essential service, and God bless our employees. They made it into work every single day. Because think about it, we're selling appliances to people who can't go to the store to buy appliances. We're selling furniture. Yeah, it was. But thank you for giving us that plug, because it is a great place to shop. And if you have a little bit of the hoarding bug in, you might want to stay away. I can do. When we first opened up the Restore, I'd come home and my husband would say, "So, what did it cost you to go to work today?"
I mean, you have refrigerators, you have coolers.
Everything.
It's amazing what you have done. You have very developed volunteer donations.
Yeah.
Where are you located?
We are at 1822 South Road in Wappingers Falls. And while this may not be the time for it, and I get in trouble for this all the time, but we are actively analyzing this community, specifically what we call the Eastern Corridor, the Route 22 corridor, to see if you can support a second Restore. I bet you'll be on that committee, won't you?
So, how do you choose your applicants? I'm sure you have a giant list of people who would
We do,
want to.
yeah. So we have what are called open application periods, where we invite people to come and bring us their applications. We have an application committee, and that committee will review first for basic needs. Do you meet our income qualification guidelines? Because there is a minimum income. You couldn't pay taxes in Dutchess County if you made less than $35,000 a year, so that is our minimum income. But beyond that, you also can't exceed what would be the equivalent of 80% of the area's median income based on your family size. So that's a lot of numbers, and I would invite you to go to habitatdutchess.org to get those specific ones per family. Once you've sort of passed the litmus test of meeting the income guidelines, we then look at, are you a first-time home buyer? And if you are, do you currently live in substandard housing? And that's defined in several ways. And that's defined based on what you might think, is it an unsafe environment? It's also based on what percentage of your income are you paying in rent. If it's over 30%, then you are paying more than you can afford for your home. And so we very often in Dutchess County see people paying as much as 50% of their income for a rental apartment that often doesn't really meet their basic needs. There are rules and regulations around the ages of different sex children sharing a bedroom, but you have to do what you have to do, right? And so we look at all of those things. And then we look at specifics about the family. So if you have and these are real stories I'm telling you, so if you have a child that you literally have to carry up 2 flights of stairs because the building you live in doesn't have 2 elevators and this child is confined to a wheelchair, you rise right up to the top of the list. If you're a veteran, you rise right up to the top of the list. So we do have several qualifications. Our team is trained to recognize all of those things, and then we do have an interview. We want to make sure that the family is willing to do the sweat equity. The exception to that would be if there's a physical challenge that would keep that from happening, but we are very creative in finding ways to serve. It doesn't necessarily have to be physical. And then there's about an 18-month time frame between you being approved by our board of directors, and by that I mean they're putting their stamp of approval that you've met all of our qualifications, and your what we call our home dedication. And if you are not aware of this, we are an organization based on Judeo-Christian theology and believe that this is not just a service organization, but one that is mandated by our Creator.
Now, there was a piece of property owned by the town of Amenia that you have already looked at.
Yes, we are salivating over that one.
Which one is that?
I am not as familiar with it as Victoria
You
is.
have
Maybe you could
the,
share that.
In your packet.
No kidding.
It's on Depot Hill, going up Depot Hill right next to the rail trailhead.
And we thought that that was really interesting because it made walking a possibility. One of the things we look at with our families is transportation going to be an issue if you're off the beaten path. Will you be able to get to work? Will you be able to get to services? And this property seems to be an ideal one. And I know, so you're not supposed to do this, but I'm going to do this. I presume that one of the things that you're questioning is, will families that live in Amenia come from Amenia? I cannot guarantee that. I can't. However, what I can do is make sure that when we do our application process, that we focus our energies on the intake of that application here in Amenia. But that doesn't mean that someone from Northeast won't come. What's happening right now is you're losing people because they're coming to Poughkeepsie, the town and the city, and to Wappingers because that's where we have property right now. We're working with a family right now who actually lives here. They are in their grandparents' house. They're sharing a house with their grandparents. The husband works here, and the children go to school here, but they're going to be forced to move to the city of Poughkeepsie if they want to be a first-time home buyer, unless we can find properties in other parts of the county where their support network is. And I'll tell you this too, that people want to be where their support network is. And so what we have found is that even when we have other properties, on that rare occasion, no one's rushing from the list to say, oh, can you switch me to here? They want to be where their child care is. They want to be where their parents are, their school district. And it was an interesting thing that we discovered.
Great.
Thank you for the good questions.
Thank you for coming.
Hope Okay?
You will be discussing as a board about this property and, the process and...
And I'm happy to entertain meetings with anyone individually about what we do. I can't wait to get together. I'm going to give you my card before I leave. Again, we are not your only solution. We are a solution that specifically targets home ownership, and we know that you must have at least 60% of your community owning their homes in order to be considered a healthy community right now, and I don't think very many in Dutchess County really are there. So.
Can I ask one last question? Are you still a part of the Carter Foundation?
So the Carter Foundation does fund Habitat for Humanity International, not specifically Dutchess County. As I mentioned, there are about 1,200 affiliates in the United States and 70 throughout the country. And a lot of our work is in global work. And in fact, a small percentage of our funds do go to support global work in communities where donations are just not an option. So.
Can I have one last question? Do you do multifamily homes?
We do.
As well?
Yep. We would love to do a condo. Our attorney is ripping his hair out of his head every time I say that, but I know he'll make it work for us. We are really excited. If you look at other habitats throughout the country, their work is just out of the box everywhere. If there is a way to create home ownership, thinking out of the box, we're willing to do it. One of the things I personally would love to do is find a piece of property that could support several, I don't want to call them tiny houses, I will call them smaller houses that could be a veterans village. And if you know about PTSD, you know that many of our veterans are suffering from that. And so creating that platoon mentality of several houses together and smaller, because many of our veterans that are aging out and don't have small families. And so creating that environment for them is going to help them to be much more successful in life. So I would love to do something like that, but if you can think it, we can make it happen.
Our town zoning allows accessory housing units on any piece of property that there's a house on, so it means you could have 2 units on that piece of property from the get-go.
Okay, that is exciting. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay, I don't want to stay here, but I don't want to rush it either. So I know that I gave you a lot, and I know you have a lot to digest, and I'm sure I missed something, but I am available for anyone who would like to meet with me, meet with my staff. And Victoria, again, thank you for opening up your townhouse. We're very, very grateful for that. Thank you.
Make a motion to open the public hearing for a Town of Amenia Comprehensive Plan Affordable Housing Update.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revlard?
Yes.
Is there any comment for the public hearing on the comprehensive plan?
Nobody but me? I was going to wait for last.
Excuse me? I'm asking if someone wants to speak now.
Well, this is the hearing, right?
Yes, it is. It's pretty much it. Well, for this one, we're going to be having more.
Victoria,
But right now, it's this one.
I have a public comment.
Sharon Kroger here.
Oh, you have a list?
Yeah, after her. No, I have one after her.
Okay.
Sorry.
During the first hearing, the major concern that was expressed, because those of us who were here that were trying to get hold of the picture, were really concerned about process. We weren't talking about housing. At that point, we're concerned about process, and we were worried about the idea that a comprehensive plan was hearings were being held about specific language before there was a comprehensive review leading up to actions and changes and update, the so-called update. And therefore, it was pretty hard to put the draft that we were reading from, the AKRF draft, in a context.
I think that's fair to say. That was what we were dealing with then. Now, we got guidance in that meeting, public guidance on television from the supervisor, who explained that the effort here was to be dealing with housing, and that the goals were to get the plan developed in such a way that the moves could be made in housing as were being suggested by the folks working on it. And if that is the rule of the game, then my first comment for today is, any other quick suggested changes that are on this draft in red letters, dealing with other subject matter that has not been discussed in a committee or worked through and thought about and talked about, should be taken out. So my request to the board is that you make sure you get those extra little sentences out, especially, starting with the one that Laurence Levin clarified in this meeting that was mentioned, had something to do with the, I don't have the page for you, I'm sorry, had to do with
Overlay?
Mining district, right?
Mining and
Right.
soil extraction and things like that. And I think that's where you should start, because then we're in good faith and we're on the same team and we can be as helpful to each other as possible. So that, I would like to see the whole board vote against that one in there. Okay, now with regard to, there's another aspect to this. I'm trying to make my comments useful to the people at home who are on television, that they can understand. With this AKRF draft, there's another aspect to it, not just the policy changes or suggested amendments, but a housekeeping part. And in the housekeeping parts, it's mostly adding facts of things that have happened within 10 years, or a lot of changes took place. And so a lot of that good stuff is in there, and that's very reasonable and helpful. Our job should be, in this regard, to add so that the staff that's working on it can see where they left something out that might be important. So I want to make two suggestions in that regard. One is on page 14 in regard to the fact that the trail to the train doesn't show up anywhere yet. It needs to be added. And that's such an important thing that it should be written really nicely, I think, so that also the outcomes. This is factual. It doesn't have to have a lot of adjectives, but it was an amazing thing that we were able, and that the town leadership was able to get that piece of 6/10 of a mile built in the strategic location where they did, and the changes that have happened and the good results that have happened as a result of it, completely left out. So please add that. And on page 17, okay, I want to get the wording right here, and I'll give you a document. If somebody doesn't have a document, I can provide it. In the agricultural section, in 2018, this is completely left out, the Weebatuck Agricultural Valley Historic District was declared eligible to go on the state and federal registers of historic places. This is a district which we talk about it every couple of years, and consultants are making progress. This is the district on the east side of the mountain that includes 3 antique hamlets and farmland in between, which is actively in use and which is considered, according to our several plans, some of the richest farmland in existence. And it's therefore it happens to be together with all the historic elements still in place. So that's an impressive thing that should show up in the next revisions of the plan. Okay, to housing. And I have to say that since the comments 2 weeks ago, I've had a number of phone calls and emails because folks are getting to me, folks who don't want to come in and talk. They figure I'll get up and do some of it for them, and sometimes I can. There seem to be two concerns that need to be spelled out so the public can understand it. It isn't just that it might be written somewhere. I don't think I see it anywhere in the draft that it's explained, and so I think that we owe it to the public to deal with these two things, at least. I'm sure there may be others, but this is what I'm hearing. The first thing has to do with the size of dwelling units, and there are people who are very worried that we're going to allow in our plan such tiny units to be built that they'd be like a room and a half, as little as 190 square feet. And
Sharon, that's not allowed by state law, just FYI.
I'm sorry?
It's not allowed by state law, by New York state law. We have to meet the standards.
Let me finish and
Okay,
get
but I
it on
just wanted to-
record, and you can enlighten the rest of us. And in our current plan, we do have some very specific livable guidelines that are already there, and I think this is something where whoever's working on it needs to work on it. The other item where people are concerned is the whole question of the vetting of who's eligible. Suppose you have X number of units available, and there'll be somebody in your structural mechanism that gets to vet these people and decide. So it's like, who chooses the vetters? How are they systematically set up so that the people can see an accountable process with regard to the choosing of who gets in? And then there is this discussion that some people won't even admit their names when they're calling me about it, and they're saying, look, a community that needs to have place for veterans and for emergency workers and for firefighters and for people who are important to the community, or they sold their house and now they need to live in a smaller place, but they've been here all their life and their relatives are here. How can all these local people be sure that they can get a place if we authorize them? Because there's evidently a federal guideline which seems to be very mystical and difficult, which sort of says you have to let in all kinds of other folks, and that the question of who gets there and who doesn't get, that's a difficult issue, and it really should be explained in more detail. And I think that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to
Nina.
make public comment on the affordable housing? Nina, did you want to? Please.
Thank you.
Can we turn the heat down, Mike?
The heat's on.
What?
It's being generated by people.
No, that heat is on over there.
Crack the window?
Woo, it's hot. Okay.
Why not?
No, we're going to put the HVAC on.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to talk. So when we were here when I was here a couple of weeks ago, I had actually had the opportunity to review some of the changes that were recommended in the comprehensive plan, and I think at that time sort of made the point that if the town based on information that came from the town board last time, that the intention was really to get the comprehensive plan in line with some of the proposed changes to the zoning code with respect to housing and affordable housing and the role of the housing board and how that was going to sort out, which is great. And I think there's still a lot of merit in pursuing that path directly, right? Just going forward with the proposed recommendations in the zoning code. I know it's in front of the planning board for review at the meeting next week, and we're going to be reviewing it with our attorney. And then kind of the separate path of the proposed changes to the comprehensive plan, which Sharon really articulately, I think, expressed the concerns of a lot of people, which is it hasn't really been reviewed in a comprehensive way, right? It's really just kind of updates here and there to some statistics and some sections, and they're not just limited to housing regulations and affordable housing regulations or workforce housing or how that's going to, there's a lot of changes in there that are proposed. Some, you know, very helpful and representative of, I think, where we've been between 2007 and 2022. Some factually inaccurate that I think is really important to change those. Some sort of run afoul of, I think, where we've been and where we want to go. And I think there's a lot of value in taking a look at that again. So I think my suggestion and what I would hope the town board would consider is putting a pin in the comprehensive plan revisions as they stand today, maybe forming a committee that of people that have expressed interest and that have some expertise. I'd be happy to be on that committee and take a look at the whole document and not make drastic changes and not change the direction that where, you know, the town wants to go, but take a look at it and say, like, this was a plan that was put together in 2007 that was aspirational in a lot of ways, and still in its substance and context right now hasn't really been aligned to where we are and where we want to go. The document really says where we were and where we hoped we would be. And I think there's a lot of value in having a bunch of people get together and say, like, yeah, you know what, this already happened. We already did that. We already changed the code to allow that. We already have solar regs. We did create all these overlay zones to allow soil mining in a particular place or you know, solar in a particular way. We did that. We have already done that, and we should update the plan to reflect that. And whether or not we spend a whole lot of time sort of looking forward and saying, like, where we want to be in another 10 years, we can talk about that. And I don't think it will delay your schedule. I mean, it appears as though there's another actually required public hearing on the comp plan scheduled for December 1st. I'm sure we could get through a lot of it by then, and even if we didn't, if we had needed another month to do that, so be it. In the meantime, move forward with the zoning changes, get that stuff done because I know it's a priority, and let's make sure that this comprehensive plan is comprehensive because that's the goal, right? The goal is to look at our town holistically and figure out what has changed, what the great things that we've done and been able to accomplish in the past 15 years are. Put that down on paper so everyone can see it and celebrate that. And then in the meantime, take a look at some of the things that we can think about doing in the next 15 years, where we want to go, what we want to protect, where we want to be, the kind of housing we want to have, where we want that to be, the kind of solar development, the sustainable energy practices that we want to see happen. Let's think about that. Let's put that in our plan. Let's not just update stats and here and there and this and that, because I don't think that that's the spirit or the law, frankly, of comprehensive planning. And I think the group that did this in 2007 spent a lot of time and energy doing that, and we should respect that and do that again. So that's my piece.
Nina, are you suggesting that the comprehensive plan be redone? I mean, be looked at comprehensively, the whole thing, because that will take a while. I mean, having been around for the 2007 one.
I think if the intention is just to kind of update the things that have happened, that's not going to take a long time. I mean, half the people in this room could probably rally them off in 5 minutes, right? I mean, I read the first 40 pages and I'm like, no, that's already happened. So let's just take out all the language that says, we want to do this, we want to have an overlay zone. So if it's already happened, let's just say in 2007, we adopted this zoning, that zoning. We could do it easily quickly, I mean, I did it in half an afternoon for half of this, and, you know, there's a lot of people here that have a lot more knowledge than I do about the town, and, you know, obviously the board knows a lot, so I don't think it's going to take a long time. I don't think it's going to delay the process. I think we could get it done by December 1st. If we got it done by January 1st, big tragedy? No. Spend an extra month.
Okay. I just, based on my experience with the 2007 plan, that took a long time. That took several years. So are you just saying updating stuff that is out of date, or are you talking about actually making changes beyond the housing changes?
Well, you've already made changes beyond housing changes in here, right? There's already changes that address a whole host of other issues other than just housing. So I think it's more of updating where we are, taking a look at some of those other changes that are recommended and making sure that they're accurate. And, you know, I honestly think that we're looking at moving an entirely different direction than we did in 2007. There isn't stuff in here that would need to be significantly changed that would require the same kind of time and energy that the town put into this back in 2007. I just don't think that's necessary. If we're just updating it, then let's update it. Let's update it from stem to stern, make sure that we have all of the most recent information, most accurate information, not, you know, to give a very bad example, but not promotional material provided by an applicant that's referenced in this document about how much money and jobs and things that they were going to create when we have actual data. So let's put in the actual data instead of projections and things like that.
I know that we need to update the comprehensive plan because we're overdue in terms of how frequently you're supposed to update it. But I just feel that a lot of people are going to have a lot of different interests, and once we open it, it's going to take some time. And I mean, yes, you could just update things that are obvious to update, but that doesn't mean that someone's not going to be upset about a particular issue, like, you know, like eliminating zoning in the downtown, let's say, just for instance. I mean...
people will be upset.
Yeah, but...
people will always be upset, right? I mean, that's the challenge with consensus building, right? You're always going to have people that are on this side of the coin or that side of the coin, but the goal is not to... I don't think reopen the comprehensive planning process to the same kind of robust engagement that occurred the last time around, because like I said, I don't think a whole lot needs to change in here. I just think there's a whole lot of things in here that aren't entirely accurate, and that's what we need to be paying attention to now to make sure that we get it right. Because essentially, if you change little things here and there, and then there are things that are not accurate, by adopting the document, the town board says, yeah, we like this. This is where we are. This is what we believe, whatever. And there's things in here that just, they aren't true. They aren't right. They aren't, they're not accurate. And so I think it's essential to recognize those things that aren't accurate and make sure that they are before the town endorses a plan that not all of us support and that does not necessarily include the right information.
Well, left my own devices, I prefer to just change the zoning and not have to bother with comprehensive plan, because we do need to do a comprehensive plan process. I think the idea here was just that we don't want to hold up potential affordable housing based on the fact that we're behind schedule on a new comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
And Ian can tell you, you can go forward with the affordable housing zoning regs, because there's nothing in here that prevents you from doing that. So take that, sever it, move forward with that path. I mean, you can talk to your expert planners and ask them if that's their opinion as well. And in the meantime, and if the town board decides that that's not the prudent way to go, we can get an update to the comprehensive plan done in fairly short order that just examines it in terms of accuracy.
Okay.
So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon, did you want to speak again?
I think Nina is very wisely cautioning you, because if you look at the state language of the law and the regs and all the advice that goes with it, they are going to talk about the necessity for a comprehensive look at everything before you make changes. And they actually caution against, as does our plan somewhere, I don't know the page number, caution against a hot-button issue becoming so overwhelmingly important that it causes people just to stampede in a direction without an adequately comprehensive consideration. So that's, I think, what you're being told in different ways by different people.
Okay, is there any other comment for the comprehensive plan update? Nope, take your time.
Oh, yeah. These days, I always take my time. Terry Metcalf, Chairman of the ZBA. I briefly looked at the plan, and I understand some of it. Didn't have time to go through all of it. I see there are things that were overlooked, as were pointed out, such as on the hill, Keen Stud. It still says it's a thriving business, which is no longer in existence. But the one thing that bothered me the most, based upon some of the activities of the ZBA and some of the things that we're facing, the one thing I want to stress upon you, do not touch the soil mining section of our laws. That's all I have to say right now.
Does someone have that in front of them? Because I don't remember that being a piece of the
There was
revisions.
a sentence in there that caused some confusion.
It was in the red line copy.
There was no, but there was, excuse me, there was no intent to do anything with the soil mining overlay. But there was a sentence in there that did cause some confusion.
Right.
But, you know, it'll be taken out.
Thank you.
Is there, would you like to speak?
I'm just going to give my support.
Could you say your name, please?
Nancy McKenzie. I wanted to give my support to all the work that Susan and people have put together quickly to try to understand what's happening. And I don't know, I've not been in the town long enough to know everything that's happening. But I really believe that you are being told in your official hearing that you do not have to have a completed plan in order to do this change in zone. Probably some of the most authoritative people in this room have told you that, and you don't seem to want to listen to it. So I'm urging you once again to consider the fact that you could still do your housing plan without a completed comprehensive plan. The other thing that I want to emphasize, I totally agree on the mining issue. I think there's a lot of fear that this is a fait accompli and that is a cynical way of treating the town in order to get something quick. And so when you have loose wording like you do with the mining, it just increases the fear that there's something else at stake here. And then finally, I would just say, I don't understand why the housing piece is about rental housing and not about ownership. And I don't understand why there's not important prohibition for rental housing for vacations. What do we call that? Bed and breakfast? No.
Airbnb?
What?
Short-term rentals.
Yes. I think we should not be building housing. We should not be extending housing and then allow people to rent it out for vacationing. I think it's really important that that be in the whatever you decide with the housing. I don't know how Charlie feels about that, but I think there should be a prohibition against it, because I think given the way the Hudson Valley is moving, right, the first thing you would do as a homeowner is extend out an apartment for your home and then rent it out.
in high season. And unless we have a prohibition of that, that's going to soak up what housing we have. So I ask for concentration on that, or close looking at that. Thanks for letting me speak again.
Is there any other public comment and for the public hearing on affordable housing comprehensive update?
Victoria? May I read one?
You have one that...
Stacy Mantle.
Okay.
She asked me if I would read it for tonight's hearing public comment section. Good evening. Since we are considering changes to the zoning code, I'd like to bring to your attention zoning code section 121-41C1 workforce housing. It is stated that all electrical appliances shall bear the Energy Star rating, and no unit may use electric, heat, or hot water. The newer heating and cooling units, known as heat pumps or mini splits, run on electricity. There are heat pumps, hot water heaters, which are used in cold climates such as ours. If the current section is allowed to remain, we would not benefit from the great energy and cost savings that the heat pump technology provides. We have already seen the benefits of the heat pump technology in Town Hall. Thank you, Stacy Mantle.
Okay, do you have any other emails?
This is the only email
That was the only one? Okay, I make a motion to close the public hearing for Town of Amenia Comprehensive Plan Affordable Housing Update.
I'll second that. You missed your moment there. You missed your moment to second.
Oh. Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
No,
You don't want to close it?
I think there's still a lot.
We're going to have another one. This is not the last gasp.
So I don't understand enough about closing this and how we move forward, but.
We're having another public hearing. We're going to be setting another one up.
Okay. I'll stick with my no, because I think there's still a lot of comments that have yet to be, they've only gotten through page 30, some of these people, and I think.
And there will be another public hearing.
So we continued
Because
it
you're
last
required.
time, right? We
Yes.
continued it on. from
I'm
last
not
time 'cause we
continuing this one. I'm closing it.
I'll still vote no, though.
Well then, okay.
respectively.
Who else?
I'm going to say Leo, but I should call you Councilperson Blackman?
I will vote yes to close the hearing.
Yes.
Okay. So the motion passes.
Okay, is there any public comment not related to, and I have you on the schedule.
No, I'm here as a citizen for this part.
For what?
As a citizen for public comment.
For public comment? Okay, go ahead. I didn't know which hat you were wearing.
I'm up here tonight, at this first part, with my hat as a public citizen. Back in April, I brought it to the town's attention that R&R's operation, their equipment and material and stuff was running off out on the 22, traveling into the stream next to the property, and then going underneath 22 into our beautiful Wasatch Creek that is a state trout stream. It's my understanding that over the past couple weeks, after a citizen reached out to the DEC, that VJ Dinjay from DEC met with Tom and went down and visited the piece of property. I want to state once again, I'm not trying to shut these guys down. I just want to see them operate
Well,
properly.
DEC is investigating it.
Yes, so I'm just following up with you guys to see what information was given to the town during the...
It's still under investigation.
So it's been...
We don't have anything, I don't know.
So is there...
It took several months to even get DEC down there.
Yeah, I know.
I know you called, Tom called, everybody was trying to get them down there.
I made a phone call a couple weeks ago, and they showed up a week later.
It's an investigation in process, that's all I can tell you right
So what my
now.
concern is this has been going on for 6 months, so that means that our stream is continuously being polluted. So we're just going to let it keep getting polluted?
What do you want us to do? It's under DEC's purview, they're investigating it, they will take the steps they need to take. Will include fines, cease and desist, and whatever else they decide is necessary.
Okay. Thank you. And then my next thing is, I would like to ask about what's going on with affordable housing. I don't want to create a firestorm here, but it's my understanding that Silo Ridge chose to donate money instead of doing affordable housing. I'm just asking, have they followed up on their end as far as giving the community the
Yes,
money?
the Affordable Housing Board, we actually have, I think, around $60,000.
Out of 600,000?
No, 60,000 so far.
Out of
Well,
six-
how much money we get depends on their build-out.
Okay. So is it going to take years for this money to come in?
Some of it already has.
Well, the total that was listed was 600,000, because that's based on the number of units that Silo Ridge is allowed to build.
Okay.
And presuming that they go ahead and build all of those, that would be the money we get. But that's based on a per unit cost that the town receives, which goes into the Housing Trust Fund, and just that number is a lot lower than what other towns have gotten.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Deirdre?
Good evening. Deirdre Houston, Dutchess County Legislator. I just came tonight to give you guys a brief update on what's happening at the county level. At our meeting on early October, we passed a resolution creating a domestic partnership for the county. So for those people who, for any reason, don't want to enter into a marriage, they can now go to the county clerk's office and enter a domestic partnership. It's right at DMV offices where the county clerk is, and it will give everyone the same protection as a domestic partnership. It's not a law that's done on the state level, it's done on the county level, and through COVID, it was brought to our attention that many people who were not legally married were not able to visit their partner in a hospital and get any of the benefits of non-married domestic partnerships. So with that, we were asked to consider it. We did consider it, and we passed it at our October meeting. So as of, I believe, January 1st, you can go to the county clerk's office and register your domestic partnership if you're so inclined to do so. Secondly, at our October meeting, I was a sponsor and co-writer of a local law that we were going to be debating at our November meeting, which will allow for the veterans' property tax exemption into a larger capacity. So currently, through the state, the county is allowed to offer an exemption to veterans on their county tax portion of their bill. And the county does offer that. However, the last time it was updated was 2007 and 2008. And there's two different ones because one is for Cold War veterans and the other is for the standard veteran exemption. So we felt that with inflation and cost of everything going up, that in fact that our veterans were not receiving much of an exemption. So the immediate answer is to raise the exemption basically to the rate of inflation, and then in 2 years to raise it to the highest level. And that will be, again, on just the county portion of the veterans' property tax. And we'll be discussing that and debating it and hopefully passing that law in November, and that would go into effect in January. And then lastly, what I have for you, which seems very timely tonight, I know I emailed all of you the creation of the Housing Creation and Preservation Program that the county has now launched. The application process is open. It is open through November 30th. So it's for both private, for-profit, and non-for-profit developers. It's a newly created Dutchess County Housing Trust Fund. It's approximately $9 million will be funded out this year. Priority will be given to communities based on the housing needs assessment that you all received in April that the county planning department released. There was a state grant that they received and they did a whole housing needs assessment. So priority will be given based on the shortage of housing units in your community. Each community was laid out. And it's specific for housing creation and housing preservation. So I emailed it all to you. I hope you looked it over. It was great information, and it's, you know, it's available to the communities to apply up until November 30th, and not just municipalities, but certainly for developers or anyone you know who's looking to create that. So I just want to make sure that you know about it. I know it's really important to Amenia. It's been on your housing list, so I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Deidre, thank you. That's a great program. The only problem is that when Dutchess County Planning presented the numbers, their numbers were very different than the calculations we had done in terms of the number of people who are paying more than 30 or 50% of their income in Amenia for housing. I don't remember what the number was of units that we thought we were kind of behind, but was it 500 and something? Or it was more than that?
And the report shows that we should add 2 per year.
Yeah, so it was a little lame, and we did bring that up with Dutchess County.
I was going to say, did you reach out to planning? Because I know the woman who, spearheaded the assessment, and has she had any?
Are you talking about Heather? Or
I am, Heather.
Yeah, they said that there were
Laverne.
reasons that they couldn't do much about that, but I perhaps being that it makes the housing problem look as bad as it is, but it's just problematic for someplace like Amenia, someplace rural, where we really do need a lot more units than that, and what we're being scored on, or what we're being offered is 2 per year. So we're not eligible for a lot of that money, just based on the way Dutchess County scored, the way they did their report.
So keep in mind, you are still eligible for the dollars. It's just the priority will be given if you can meet the housing needs assessment. So it's not that you're not eligible for the dollars. You can certainly still apply for the dollars. And it is based on the housing needs assessment, but that's not the only look at this application.
Okay.
And I'm certainly happy to advocate for you in any way I can.
You're the best. Thank you.
If you decide to apply or know someone that wants to apply, we can certainly advocate for those dollars.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Anything else for me? Any questions? Thanks.
Thank you, Deirdre. See any other public comment?
Hi, everyone. I'm Jill Fieldstein. I'm a resident of Dover Plains. I'm also a candidate, the Democratic candidate for New York State Assembly for this district. I came because of the presentation by Habitat for Humanity, and I also saw that affordable housing was on your agenda. I want to commend the town for everything you're doing to try and address this problem we have in our county and in the country. And I just look forward to the possibility of working with you all at the state level to bring this town in, to bring affordable housing to this area. And I'm hoping that Amenia can act as a model for the other towns in this county that also need affordable housing as much as Amenia does, but there are many impediments to getting it going. So I wish you all the best and commend you again on what you're doing.
Great, thank you.
Is there any other public comment? Okay, supervisor's report. Highway garage and salt shed. The feasibility study contract from Lobella is finalized and being sent to the supervisor for signature. CDBG Route 44 sidewalk grant. 2 bids received were both over $320,000, which is more than the $150,000 plus $15,904.24 that's left over from the post office sidewalk repair grants, so both will be rejected. Dutchess County Planning has granted an extension of the grant monies to 12/31/2023. 2023 budget. The preliminary budget has been submitted to the town clerk and town board on October 20th. The preliminary budget is $41,102 under the 2% tax cap. The town tax rate decreases from 1.94984 to 1.92039.
We haven't discussed that, Victoria, in terms, you're reading those as if they're numbers that people can depend on, but we haven't done a final budget. That seems, telling people that their taxes are going to reduce.
I'm just telling them what the preliminary, these are the numbers from the preliminary. Doesn't matter whether we discuss it or not, those are the numbers.
Well,
The
we'll have to
final
ultimately vote
budget
on it,
is
but-
the adopted.
Yes, okay.
And we have a budget hearing on November 3rd where there'll be discussion on it.
Okay.
But the preliminary budget as stands today is this.
Okay.
November election. Absentee ballot and register to vote applications are on the left side of the front door in a container next to the secure mailbox on the wall. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Please remember to schedule a mammography and exam if you have not already done so. American Rescue Plan funds. All reports required by the Treasury have been filed timely. Looking into requirements for state authorization before funds can be moved from the general fund to the Water District. Town of Amenia COVID-19. Amenia Town offices are open Monday through Thursday. The building department is also open on Fridays. Masks are requested and are available in an envelope on the second set of doors. Signing the visitor log is required. COVID-19 test kits are available in department offices. COVID-19 vaccine information. Homebound vaccine appointments can be made by calling 845-486-2555. COVID-19 vaccines and booster shots are available at Amenia Drugs. Call for appointment 845-373-8000. CVS Pharmacy, go online to schedule an appointment. Visit www.duchessny.gov/COVID vaccine for expanded clinic dates and times and to make an appointment. Town clerk report.
Good evening. I share with the board that for September, the local share was remitted to the supervisor in the amount of $535.25. The total collection for the state, county, and local revenues was $589.75. As the supervisor acknowledged in her report, she did serve upon me earlier today the 2023 preliminary budget, which is in our packets this evening. Presenting the vouchers, our abstract that is in our packets this evening, totaling $235,320.88 for a breakdown as follows. For our general fund, $118,007.31. Highway fund, $106,797.09. Amenia lighting, $922.96. Wassaic lighting, $349.35. And Amenia water, $9,244.17. Again, for a total in this evening's abstract, $235,320.88. At this time, I'm seeking authorization for the supervisor to pay claims.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
And Revelard?
Yes.
I am been made aware that you guys had interviews earlier for open positions. Was the board ready to make any actions on this evening's interview? For interviews?
I'll make a motion that we appoint Joshua Simpson to the Recreation Commission.
Second.
And that's for the unexpired term, correct, for expiring on 12/31 of 2023?
Yes.
I didn't want to.
Okay, I didn't know if we were doing
It's
that. 'Cause
the
we seem not
unexpired.
to be doing that for the CAC.
CAC doesn't have terms.
So CAC does in our law anyway.
You guys have never appointed any of the members
You
with
haven't done terms for years.
We haven't done terms for years.
Not for
but
CAC.
It is
No.
in our law that we're supposed to do it.
Well, then you'll have to
I can do it for
create
rec.
terms
Okay,
for next year.
sounds good.
Yeah, if you guys want to pick who gets what.
I think we should follow the law. Good. I'll make a motion. Oh,
Is there a second
I'll second.
for recreation? Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
So now you have a full board.
Yeah. And a bunch of skateboards.
I make a motion to appoint Nancy Schaefer to the CAC.
I'll
For a
second.
term yet to be decided.
Yeah, we'll figure that out next year, I guess.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
This is not always my favorite job for the parents that are watching, but it is the month of October, and we have probably one of the fun holidays this month that I recognize on October 31st. But the board likes to put a damper and set curfews.
No damper, it's a safety thing.
I know, so 'tis the season, so I
Yeah,
didn't
we
know
want
if-
everybody to come to the trunk and treat, October
we-
30th. Yes, from
Yeah,
2
so
to
every
3.
year
Yes,
they
we
have to,
do.
you guys set a motion to set a curfew.
For curfew?
No.
So you have to pass a curfew. So the end part, you guys get to, if should you elect to do something with that information.
Was 8 o'clock, right?
8 p.m.
8 p.m., and was there age limit? Or it's just 8 p.m.?
The curfew set for minor children? You guys usually just tell me the curfew set for 8 p.m.
The curfew is set for 8 p.m. I make a motion to set the Halloween curfew at 8 p.m.
For minor children. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
No?
Somebody said minor children.
Well,
I usually
you
say
said
minor children,
and
are little
I wanted
tyke,
to clarify that.
are minors without parents, Sometimes they like to go out. I mean, I don't know.
I'm just trying to clarify what we're voting on.
So there's usually the board makes a curfew for 8 p.m.
Right, for
on
whom?
Halloween.
For whom?
Our young friends, under
minors,
18,
in other
minors.
Everyone.
It's everyone.
Everyone.
I mean,
We can stay out after. I mean, we're adults.
so anybody
To
under
trick-or-treating.
21? Any?
The trick-or-treaters.
Define minors, Ian? Ian?
18 and under. I mean, this is like, I've never had them actually
18 and under.
Yeah, 18 and under.
unaccompanied.
Okay. Then I understand that, thank you.
Okay, now
So
that we
you
got
still-
that
you still have
clarified.
to- You can stay out if you want, but it's only been made.
Oh, do you
Is
need
there a
key
second?
It's usually what happens with motions.
Second.
Thank you.
Revillard, now we know who the people are that are putting us to bed at 8:01. Okay, no, I'm just- Supervisor Parodi?
Yes.
Councilperson Stoyl?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
And I know that, I'm joking about the Halloween fun festivities, but that also means that right behind the corner where you have anticipated inclement weather, snow. So did you guys want to authorize me to do anything with obtaining bids? I have to advertise because we need to get bids for snow removal.
Oh, for snow removal, I thought this still had to
Yes,
do with
for snow
Halloween.
removal for Amenia and
Trail to the,
and then we'll need an addendum for the Wassaic Trail.
so the town clerk just needs the authorization to go ahead and advertise that, and then we'll work
Okay.
on getting those
I'll give you the
specs together.
details.
Yes. You want to make that?
I make that motion.
I'll second it but I do want to make note that a number of business owners last winter were really upset because older people were trying to get over the giant hump from the street, and the people who shoveled the sidewalk were not making openings for them.
Is that where?
of the post office.
Along Main Street, post office.
Yeah, where the state is
library.
supposed to plow and never does.
Well, they may have plowed, but I don't think, they're not responsible for making an opening between the street and the sidewalk, are they?
That's been the constant battle.
Yeah,
Who's responsible for that? Because the sidewalk maintenance guys just plow open the sidewalks. They don't worry about ingress, egress from the parking lot, right? So that is the ongoing battle.
Okay, well, maybe we should.
we
just
can
discuss
put
this.
it in, we can actually make it part of the spec set to make sure there is a path from into the
businesses.
post office.
Yeah, that would be great, because one of the business owners saw someone saw someone elderly kind of try to get over the snowbank and keel over, so.
Yeah, we'll,
It's
we
cheaper
can,
than a
we
lawsuit.
we can make that part of the specs.
Great, that would be lovely.
I'll take care of that.
Thank you.
Supervisor Parodi?
Yes.
Councilperson Stoyl?
Yes.
Blackman?
Thank you, yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
Also, as I know you guys did make some appointments this evening, but we do have some potential vacant opening positions for our board members and committee members whose terms will be ending this year. That is our planning board, our ZBA, our board of assessment review, our recreation, our ethics, and we keep adding in historian because we're supposed to have a
And
historian.
that's a lot.
And that's not even our committees. At
Is
this
that
time,
all
I'm doing our
posted on the
terms.
website? Because I saw that some stuff was.
Yeah,
Is there a full list?
they're all, the full list has been on there, but
Okay.
with the hardship of finding applications and sometimes it going so long, I opted to go ahead and, I'm asking now so that way it can go in twice in November, so that way by December, hopefully, you'll have applications for all of those, like for everything.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's
yeah. It might be a good idea to just remind the people on the committees that they can make proposals, because presumably they have friends that might be interested in the same subject matter.
Yeah, the boards actually have terms. So whose ever term is up this
not
year,
that,
we need to let them know, and
Well, that too, I guess, yes.
anyone else who wants to can apply for that seat,
Yeah,
besides the person on the board whose term is ending.
so permission to go ahead and authorize that in the...
Yes.
Already.
A second, sorry, I got lost there for a second.
No, so I want to put it in there. Councilpersons Doyle,
Yes.
Blackman, and Revard.
Yes.
Yes.
You're just spending your money tonight. No, I'm just... I do see in our packets this evening, I will acknowledge receipt of our, we have our balance sheets were circulated to us not only in our packets but also via email, as well as our operating statement. Also in our packets this evening, I'm acknowledging the circulation of the SEBI Environmental Services September 2022 monthly update for the number of gallons used for September and August. Also the customer calls.
Excuse me, could you bring that conversation out in the hall, please?
Marco also does indicate that the water line markouts and dig out for Safe New York, and he lists the addresses to where he was working, emergency responses and repairs that he had to complete, and any other projects that he worked on this month. Also acknowledging receipt of the monthly report for our Tom Bissell, our building inspector and code enforcement officer. It appears that for the building department, the total income for September was $8,475.25. He also does indicate on there that there were 6 violations that were issued during the month of September. I also see that we have our highway report being submitted on October 20th. We received our DEC permit for Tower Hill pipe replacement, and the work was completed by the end of September, along with 2 other pipes that needed to be replaced. All dirt roads have been graded and are ready for the winter months. This week, we're getting ready to plow trucks ready for the winter and doing our maintenance on our vehicles, and that was respectfully submitted by Megan Chamberlain. I do note that we have a Recreation Commission report that was circulated by Kelly earlier today, but I believe Rec is here and we'll go ahead and share that report with us.
I'll have a report.
Okay.
But I do have multiple items
We can-
to address tonight.
Not a problem. But before we jump into recreation, and I can give you Kelly's report, I do want to remind the board that the year is coming to a close, and that we still have our ZBA members and our planning board members who need to complete our required education. The supervisor was noticed, as well as the planning and zoning secretary, who's been working with Erica, our deputy clerk. So rather than reading that naughty list out loud,
Oh, come on.
it'll be circulated.
Having been on the planning board and the zoning board, it's an ongoing
So
problem.
Terry Metcalf needs 3 hours, Tracy Saladay needs 2.5, James Wright needs 5.5, Paul Paluzzi needs 0.5, David Menegat is good. Planning board, Matt Deister needs to complete 6 hours, Robert
sorry, how
Boyle,
many?
6.
Thank you.
Robert Boyles needs to complete 2. Tony Robicelli needs to complete 14. John Stephanopoulos needs to complete 21.5. Nina Peak needs 1 credit, and Neil Kuznick needs to complete 8.
Okay. The board chair should also be reminded that they're allowed to remove people who've missed 3 meetings, and presumably if they get a certain amount behind on their credits, that's something that they should consider. I don't know if we say that specifically in the law.
Well, there's a process for that,
For,
removing.
oh, okay,
There actually has to be a hearing.
okay.
It's in our zoning law.
Great, thank you.
That'll conclude the town clerk's reports and acknowledgement of the reports circulated. No,
Or
he's
do we
giving
each
you
get
your own
one?
packet.
That's yours.
Oh, that's mine, I see, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Recreation.
All right. You guys about turned me into a pumpkin. I've been up since 4:30 this morning. How we doing, everybody? I'm Paul Winters, the Amenia Recreation Commission Chairman. I want to thank the town board for approving our new commissioner tonight. It now gives us a full commission. In the meantime, the commission has been moving forward. We want to thank the town for meeting with us a couple weeks ago and working out our preliminary budget for 2023. We do have one issue that we wish to address with you guys before you go to a final budget. So if you can schedule another meeting for us then, so we could address that with you, we'd appreciate it very much. This report is from Kelly Milano, who is our part-time recreation director. Good afternoon. Update on the rec activities that are happening. Volleyball meets at Weebatuck Middle School gym on Tuesday nights at 6 to 9. Line dancing is at 5:30 on Thursday nights, and karate right after at 6:30 here on Thursday nights. Pickleball is every Tuesday at 6:30. Little League and Babe Ruth are finishing up their fall seasons in the next few weeks. Weebatuck Youth Valley Soccer has 2 weekends left for games. Cheer has started up again. Our cheer recreation practices every Saturday. They have made their teams and are working on their routines for competitions. Competitions are to be announced. I just want to encourage anyone in this community. My daughters used to be on the Amenia Recreation Commission. The Amenia Recreation Cheer Squad. They got a lot of confidence out of that. It's an extremely hard sport. I never realized how much work those girls had to put in. And how complicated it is for them to figure out how to do those moves, and especially whenever the girls are a flyer and they're throwing them up in the air and they got to catch them. I would highly recommend to any parent to get their child involved in that. It's a real confidence builder for that child. Trunk or Treat is on October the 30th. I need more people to go on to the Amenia Recreation Cheer and join me in setting up a trunk or treat, right? So the Rec Commission is going to have their own table sitting down there. I've encouraged the town board to sign up and set up their own cars. I'll have my own car down there. I don't know what my girls are going to do. But we're going to do it this year at the over here at Four Brothers at the drive-in. They've been very kind to us at the Lions Club. We've been having our car show there. It's a good time, and I'm sure that the trunk or treat is going to be a good time. So I look forward to that. And Miss Vicki Doyle has sent out an email to us here today updating us on the dance program, and then as I get myself more educated on that, I will share that with the public. So tonight what I am here is I have 3 items I want to talk to the town board about. First, I want to get the small business out of the way. Mr. Ian, have we made any progress yet on bylaws?
So, yes, I have a copy for board members. I have a hard copy. I can send a digital copy around as well, but I figured I would hand these out so people have a hard copy of it.
This is a draft.
This is a draft, yep. For the board's review and comment, as well as recommendation.
This has not been emailed yet?
No, I have not emailed.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Ian.
There you go. Hey, another one.
Thank you very much. The Recreation Commission has been looking forward to this. We will go over it and get back with any of our comments. Our next 2 items. A couple weeks ago, I submitted our recommendations to the town board for our landscape architect. 4 firms. We interviewed 4 firms over the past 2 months. 2 of the firms, Water Street and Jalansky, didn't really show much interest. 2 of the other firms, which were Labella, which is also doing the Millerton Park, and I believe they're working on the town garage, submitted a proposal, and another proposal came from the Dona, who is located down in Danbury. Now, both firms offer really good things for the community. Labella is rather large. They have a lot of resources. And then we have the Dona, who is only 4 members in a whole architect firm. They shrunk down in 2008. So after speaking with both firms, and they actually both came out and they've already walked the sites, we took a vote and we just settled on the Dona. The reason we chose Dodona is their enthusiasm. And then whenever you look at their proposal, it's laid out really well. And they offer quite a few items that will help the community as we go forward. Not only are they going to help us develop a master plan, but they're also going to help us find the money, right? That's what it all comes down to build these things. It comes to grants. And they have just a really good plan. So I would encourage the town board to vote, and we, as a commission, we encourage you to accept Dodona's proposal. Hopefully we can get something settled by November 1 or November 3rd, I believe, is the next town board meeting. Because if you look on the first sheet that I passed out with the operating statement for the period ending 9/30/2022, the Rec Commission has identified $45,510 that has not been spent this year from our recreation budget. Dodona has informed us that they could spend at least $10,000 of that money by December 31st, which that's what we need to do, right? So we can get it billed out. I know Dodona's $1,000 more than LaBella, but once again, as I stated before, as a commission, we really do hope that you guys choose Dodona. And if it's LaBella, then we'll find a way to work with them and hopefully get that done. The next thing that you'll see is I've been working with members in the community and within the commission on getting some estimates for baseball fencing repair. The baseball fencing down at Beekman has been neglected for the past 20, 30 years. And we reached out to 3 different firms, one of them being Millbrook Fence, who's returned no interest because they don't want to get involved in what do you call it?
Prevailing wage.
Yeah, prevailing wage. And then we got a proposal from Brookshire Fence, and then we also received the proposal from Adams Fence, based out of Poughkeepsie. We would propose that you guys enter into a contract with them by November 1st with Adams. They have spoken with them, and they can complete the repairs, which comes out to $16,300. That's B and A, or B and C in their proposal. Comes out to $16,300. They can complete that work before December 31st. And then the third part of that proposal, we're going to forget D, and A is, since we purchased a new pitching machine this year, now we need a brand new pitching batting cage, right? With the pitching batting cage that is currently down there is unsafe and it's not proper. So if we take this $45,000, we subtract the architect of 10 grand, and then we subtract $16,300 for the repair of the fence, that leaves $19,210. In order to build the batting cage, their proposal is $28,600. So what we would propose is that you take the $19,000 and use that to purchase the material here in 2022. And I am currently working with other organizations within the community, including Weewatuck Little League, in order to fund the labor cost come 2023. So then that would solve the batting cage completely, and it would only cost the town $15,000 to $18,000 for the material, and then the community will step up and take care of the labor cost, which will help us reduce the cost too, because then we don't have to pay prevailing wage. So, but the thing is it's important that we get these 2 items situated with both companies, whatever company you choose to work with, within the next 2 weeks. So one, they can perform the work before December 31st, and we can use up all of this $45,000 before it disappears back into the general fund. Any questions?
Yeah, how much use does the batting cage get in season?
The batting cage will be used quite often, actually. Once it gets up and going, and now that we have the new pitching machine, right, it hasn't been really much going on down there because the pitching machine that we had was 20 years old, so no one was using it. I'm sure that if we...
I'm sorry?
You use the batting cage by pitching.
All the time. And so once the community sees, right, if you invest in your community, right, and kids are talking about, oh, well, I'm down there doing this, then more kids are going to get involved. I mean, that's kind of what happens, right? You build it and they will come. It's a simple project. Yeah, sometimes not. But I think it'll excite more interest in it. It's a safety thing too, at the end of the day, right? You got kids down there hitting and batting cage, and they're knocking off a ball, and you got parents sitting in those wooden stands, and it clocks them in the back of the head. Now we got a lawsuit. All right, so we're trying to resolve these issues. You know, especially the first 16,300, that needs to be addressed this year before we have baseball next year. Yep. And then, like I said, with the batting cage, you know, I've worked out a compromise within the community to where the town pays for the material, and then the community is going to come together and get the labor paid for. I think that's a good deal for the community and for the town taxpayer. Any other questions? The architect's a big thing for us, ladies and gents, to try to get that resolved in the next 2 weeks and get a contract signed with them. That takes a little bit more effort, but we really need you to step forward up and get this resolved. I have a contract ready for you guys if you say yes. It's already been emailed to me.
Well, the attorney needs to review all contracts.
I understand that. So, but as soon as as soon as I hear from the town board on which architect they choose, I will forward the contract.
Well, you will hear on November 3rd, the next meeting.
November 3rd?
That's our next meeting.
Beautiful.
Because we need to do a resolution.
Yep.
To choose someone.
Because you're going to have to also do a resolution to move all this money from the different lines here to cover all these costs. Is that how I understand it?
Yes.
Okay.
And actually, the fencing can come from the capital fund too.
Well, so we're trying to stay away from the capital fund, right? We have this $45,000 that's budgeted for recreation this year that's not being spent. So we would rather you use this money that's not being spent on recreation this year.
Well, some of it you've spent, which I'm doing, moving some money
yeah,
and
I know.
transfer of funds.
I took the latest and added it up.
That's not the latest.
This isn't the latest? It says 9/30/2022.
Yeah, we just got the October one. Yes.
What I got. That's what I just got sent.
I know. We just sent out the October one, and things have been spent, and the actual park line was overdrawn, so I have to move money from one of the lines to cover it.
So I just received this email from Marge on Tuesday as the most up-to-date operating budget. I received this from her on Tuesday. So that's why I based my numbers off of that.
We were just given 1030, and if you don't have that.
And from what my understanding is the money had already been moved to cover the things that you were talking about, and the $45,000 is what was left.
I'm moving some money tonight to cover.
So if we can just
because between 9:30 and now, you know, we have vouchers and we have things that we had to pay. But you'll have plenty of money to do it, so don't worry about it.
Right. So but the main thing for us is we want to save the money that's in the capital fund for what's going to come down the line, right? Because we know that Wassaic Park is going to take some money to get done out. So we're going to need to match grants and so forth. So that's why we're trying to use this year's unused budget money to address the architect, the baseball fence repair, and the batting cage. That's what we're trying to do, and save that money for future use.
Okay.
Okay? Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Paul.
I'm headed out.
Is there any other committee reports?
Are you reporting, Charlie?
Oh, yeah.
Sure, your committee report.
Hey, hi, Charlie Miller, the chair of the wastewater committee. So I wanted to say, since the last board meeting, we had 2 additional community forums. That brings us to 5.
For wastewater.
What was that?
For wastewater, not
yes,
hazard.
for wastewater, yes. So, and both the last one that was on Tuesday was virtual, and it was well attended. I just posted that video to our Facebook page, and I'll send that around as well. So at night people can watch it. We would like to get even more residential input, so it would be great if people know individuals who are in the district to reach out to us, but we're going to start a door knocking campaign probably within the next couple of weeks to reach out to more people. And then the forum that we had the week before was here at Town Hall, and that was also very well attended, and there was a lot of good, healthy discussion for that. So I will say I think that the wastewater committee is moving along at a really good pace. We've had a lot of good community engagement. There will be 4 Q&A documents that will be made available. 3 are already up and online, so if you haven't looked through those, it gives a lot of really great information that has come out of people asking questions and us working with the engineers to get responses to those. So that's on the wastewater committee. Oh, and I will say, I think the committee will probably be coming before the town board in November to give our recommendation as to next steps for that. So stand by.
Make sure you have numbers for that
Very.
since it's budget season.
Yes, definitely, we'll have numbers. And there is the ARP money, which is probably what our recommendation will be, to use the ARP money to pay for the next phase of that process, which would be map planning report, if that's our recommendation. And then the Affordable Housing Committee, chair of the Affordable Housing Committee, we had a good meeting and community engagement event on Saturday. It was recorded, which I think maybe Mike will have in the next week or so for us to send around. But we did that in collaboration with Hudson River Housing, who, for those people at home that do not know, Hudson River Housing is a nonprofit housing developer who bought a parcel of land just north of Town Hall that they are planning to build out, and they want a lot of community input as to what they're putting there. Currently now the proposal is 7 multifamily homes with an accessory dwelling for each one. So that would be a for sale unit that would have a rental component and then a secondary rental component for a total of 21 units. So it's a really creative way of, one, getting funding to build the stuff, and the second, to provide rental inventory for Amenia, which we are desperately lacking, and a means of generating income for that homeowner who purchased the parcel. So, I mean, the multifamily home. I think that's all for me right now. So, anyway, thank you. Oh, questions?
No? Are there any other committee reports?
Thank you for moving that along, Charlie.
If there's no other committee reports, resolution for rejecting Route 44 sidewalk bids.
We're beginning with 70.
70. Resolution rejecting bids received to construct the Town of Amenia Route 44 sidewalk extension to Beekman Park. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia by Resolution Number 22 of 2021 awarded the contract for engineering services to provide design and formula construction plans for the Town of Amenia Route 44 sidewalk extension to Beekman Park to LaBella Associates, FKA Chazen Engineering, Land Surveying, Landscape Architecture, and Geology, Common DBC. Whereas pursuant to the town's procurement policy and general municipal law, Section 103, LaBella published an invitation to bid to contractors for the installation of the concrete sidewalk and curbing. Whereas only one bid was received, duly opened, and read aloud at Town Hall on July 13, 2022. Whereas based on the review of the one proposal received by the town board, it has been determined that due to inflation and the rise of diesel fuel costs, surcharges, the cost to complete the sidewalk extension to Beekman Park far exceeded the community development block grant awarded to the town. Whereas by letter dated August 15, 2022, LaBella recommended that all bids be rejected and the project be rebid at a lesser scale. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia by Resolution Number 60 of 2022 rejected the bid and authorized LaBella to rebid the project at a lesser scale. Whereas pursuant to the town's procurement policy and general municipal law, Section 103, LaBella published a second invitation to bid to contractors for the installation of concrete sidewalk and curbing. Whereas 2 bids were received on September 29, 2022, and duly opened and read aloud on September 30, 2022. Land Scape Incorporated DBA Nicky Dick's Excavation, $320,000. Contact Construction Technology Incorporated, $329,850. Whereas by letter dated October 6, 2022, Labella has recommended that all bids received be rejected and the town seek additional funding sources for the project. Whereas based upon the review of the 2 proposals received by the town board and the recommendation from Labella, it has been determined that it is in the best interest of the town to reject all bids received for the Route 44 sidewalk extension project. Whereas the town board of the town of Amenia has further determined that it is in the best interest of the town to seek additional funding sources for the project. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as it fully set forth and adopted herein, that the town board of the town of Amenia hereby rejects all bids received to construct the Route 44 sidewalk extension to Beekman Park. And I make that motion.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle? Yes. Blackman?
Yes.
Revillard?
Yes.
Resolution number 71 for setting the 2023 preliminary budget public hearing. Whereas the town supervisor has filed the 2023 tentative budget for the town of Amenia pursuant to Section 106 of the town law, whereas the town clerk delivered the tentative budget to the town board in accordance with town law Section 106, whereas town law Section 108 requires the town to hold a public hearing on a preliminary budget on or before the Thursday immediately following the general election in November, whereas Town Law 109 requires the town board to adopt a final budget on or before November 20th, 2022, whereas the town board has reviewed the tentative budget and has made changes thereto deemed reasonable and appropriate and intends to adopt the preliminary budget. We're not adopting it.
You're not adopting the budget, you're adopting this as the preliminary.
At the preliminary? Okay. Preliminary budget herein. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as it fully set forth and adopted herein. Excuse me. Pursuant to, excuse me, and in accordance with the provisions of Section 106 of the town law. Excuse me.
Do you want me to read that, Victoria?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Tickle in my throat.
Actually, just hand that to me for the time being so I don't have to locate mine.
She's at 2. Number 2.
Number 2, pursuant to and in accordance with the provisions of Section 106 of the town law and other applicable provisions of law, the annexed tentative budget is hereby approved and adopted as the preliminary budget for the town of Amenia for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2023. The preliminary budget adopted herein shall be filed in the office of the town clerk in the town of Amenia, where it shall be available for public inspection Monday through Thursday between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. It can also be downloaded from the town's website at www.ameniany.gov or available by email upon request to the town clerk, Dawn Maria Klinger, at DMKLINGER. What?
I'm just, if you're going to read out my name, I just wanted to spell it correctly.
Oh, it's not spelled correctly.
We took care of it behind the scenes.
Okay, never mind. .gov. That the town board of the town of Amenia shall meet at Town Hall located at 499 Route 22, Amenia, New York, on Thursday, November 3rd at 7 p.m. for a regular town board meeting for the purposes of conducting a public hearing on the preliminary budget. 5, that the town clerk of the town of Amenia is hereby directed and authorized to publish the notice of the public hearing in the format annexed hereto in the official newspaper of the town of Amenia at least 5 days prior to the scheduled public hearing, and the town clerk shall cause a copy of said notice to be posted on the official signboard of the town no later than 5 days before the scheduled public hearing. I'll make that motion.
What time? I didn't hear the time.
7.
7
7
o'clock.
p.m.
I'll second it.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
I would like to suggest that we have another meeting for the board after the, to sort of review this again, because you said there were changes which we just got today, so it might be a good idea if we could just all talk about that.
Yeah, we can meet next week.
Okay, that would be great. Oh, and I'll return this to you. Thank you. Unless you want me to keep reading.
No, I think I'm good now.
Okay, good.
Did you want to meet someday next week?
Yeah. Just get my, next week. Oh, wait, I'm on the wrong month. That's the problem. Okay, next week.
No, that's okay. Kligner's a hard one. It's okay. But I saw it already.
Let's see, I could do Monday, Tuesday, probably Wednesday. I guess I'm pretty open.
What about you, Vicki?
Sort of
Tuesday
sad.
does not look bad. Tuesday, October 25th, I have something until 5. I think I have 5. I could be here at 6:30 is the earliest, though.
What were the other days?
Wednesday, did you have? Oh, that's our recreation meeting, right? Or not? No, it's the
I don't think
second
so. I think
Wednesday.
that they
It's the
changed the
second
date.
Wednesday now.
Right,
But we have a Fountain Square meeting at 5.
Brad, when are you available?
5:30, right?
Tuesday evening is fine.
Tuesday?
You said that?
I could do it by, let's see, 5 to 6. I could be here by 6:30. That's not great, but I could be here by 6:15 if I'm lucky. It's too far. I'd be here by 6:30.
Okay.
Well, you want to do 6:30 or 7? What do you want to do?
Well,
Is
Thursday,
Tuesday
the
okay?
27th, what's that like? I mean, that's the same problem.
I'm sorry, what was that, Vicki?
Thursday's the same problem. I
Okay.
could do Friday or Tuesday at 6:30. Or Monday. Oh, no, I can't do Monday. Okay, so Tuesday at 6:30 is best.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
It's good.
Tuesday
Okay.
at 6:30?
Tuesday at 6:30.
Oh, I have a budget meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, we're all,
Tuesday, the 25th, right?
yes,
Okay.
6:30?
Yeah.
6:30.
Going once, going twice?
I bid.
Okay.
Yes.
If I don't stop.
Okay, great.
Resolution 72 of 2022, transfer of funds for October 2022. Whereas the town board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary or unanticipated to amend the budget. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 13554.01.044, assessors CE, your tertiaries by $6,000, and decreasing expense line 71451.01, summer rec program by $6,000 for unanticipated legal costs. Whereas budget amendment, the general fund, increasing expense line 1355401.119, assessor CE contracts by $616.32, and decreasing expense line 13554.01.48, assessor CE conference by $616.32 for unanticipated expense from Dutchess County real property. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 14204.01, attorney CE by $15,000 for 14401.01 01 Engineer CE by $15,000 for unanticipated legal costs. Whereas budget amendment, the general fund, increasing revenue line 2260.01, public safety services other, by $1,899.75, and increasing expense line 30204.01, public safety commercial services by $1,899.75 for Dutchess County Sheriff Services Congregation Beth David payment. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 71104.01, Amenia Park CE by $500, decreasing expense line 71404.01.091, playgrounds Rec CE Easter egg hunt by $116.98, decreasing expense line 73104.01.094, youth programs girls softball by $383.02 for trunk or treat. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 71104.01.089, Amenia Park CE ballpark lights, $300, and decrease 73104.01122. Youth program CE youth basketball by $300 for unanticipated additional costs. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 12204.01.48 supervisor conferences by $120, and decreasing expense line 12202.01 supervisor equipment by $120 for Association of Towns training school registration. Whereas budget amendment, the general fund, increasing revenue line 3005.01 state aid mortgage tax by $6,500, increasing expense line 16204.01.059 building CE heat by $6,500 for fuel oil delivery. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund, increasing expense line 36204.01.040 safety inspection account support by $665, decreasing expense line 36204.01.063 safety inspection CE mileage by $665 for unanticipated expense. Whereas budget amendment, the general fund, increasing expense line 36204.01.074 safety inspection CE supplies by $1,110, and decreasing expense line 75504.01 celebration CE by $1,000, and decreasing expense line 36204.01.048 safety inspection CE conferences by $110 for additional supply costs. Whereas budget amendment in the highway fund, increasing expense line 51302.03.114 machinery equipment new truck by $64,562, and decreasing expense line 544124.03.035 improvement CE by $60,000, and decrease 51424.03 snow removal CE by $44,562 for new truck purchase. Whereas budget amendment in the water fund, increasing expense line 83204.06 source power pump CE by $6,000, decreasing expense line 83401.06. I got too many decreases in there. Transmission distribution personal service by $2,000, and decrease 83204.06 transmission distribution equipment by $4,000 for unanticipated expenses. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board authorize the transfer of necessary budget line through process of transactions. I make that motion.
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Brevillard?
Yes.
Okay, I don't believe we have any other matters, town board comments. I would like to mention that the VFW is having a pancake breakfast November 6th from 8 to 11, so if everyone's looking forward to their breakfast starting, that's when they are. There any other town board comment?
think that.
This is for town board comment, Sharon.
I'm waiting till I finish, and then
There's no public comment at the end of the meeting. Did you have something to say? What do you want to say?
I would like to just request with regard to the budget that there be available, as in days gone by, paper copies so that the public could come look or study it. And even though
there is a paper copy available in the town clerk's office.
So generally they can get it there, but at the meeting also it should be available.
It's usually made available at the public hearing. But if anybody wants it before, they can get it then.
I'm just requesting that it be consistently available to the public and that we don't make an assumption that because it can be read in the computer, that everybody can do it or is able to do it in that way.
Well, everybody is always able to get a copy of the budget from the town clerk's office. She's open Monday through Thursday, 9 to 2.
9 to 3, isn't it?
Town board
Till
comments?
3 o'clock. Oh, very well. So I think there's a South Amenia Presbyterian Church roast beef dinner on Saturday, the 22nd. As you drive by the church, you can see the phone number.
In October?
In October, I think it's on Saturday, October 22nd. I would recommend that we create a comprehensive plan committee to update the committee, create a comprehensive plan update committee, and they would review the plan and the suggested changes that have been recommended by AKRF. I don't know if it's appropriate for me to make a motion and get that going, but I think if they are willing to do the hard work of drilling down and adding, more factually correct information to it, that seems like an offer that we should accept.
Do I get to ask a question now or after?
What is the
Just
committee
asking a question. Right.
process for creating?
A committee, I think we can create a committee at any time, right?
You can vote to create a committee, but if you're going to...
Microphones on, please.
Yeah, that'd be good.
If the rules are listed up there.
Pull your microphone closer in.
So, you said there's rules behind them, is your point?
It's the board, there's a board, yeah. They
Go ahead.
established them.
So, town board has established rules for establishing a committee, but I do think that if you're going to do the committee, one, you should follow the rules. Two, I would also suggest that you have, that it be done in a more formal way. It should be done by formal resolution whereby you indicate how many members, what their anticipated roles are going to be, and what the town board expects from them. I think that should be laid out.
But anybody interested in serving on the committee is, more than welcome to do a volunteer application and give it to the town clerk.
But there is no committee yet.
No, but we can still accept applications.
Really? We accept applications to a committee that hasn't yet been formed?
Well, then, when you do the resolution, you know how many people are going to be on it.
So
Can
the
we
last
do
time
that?
you guys
Well,
wanted
Ian,
to
is
do
that correct?
You had them submit their applications, and then you guys waited till you had at least 3 persons to serve on a committee, is what you guys, that was your practice you did earlier this year.
For which committee?
That was the solar one. Was it not solar, and then, or the Stacy Mansell wanted to be on it for the energy. And then, remember, then we finally got one other person.
I mean, you
wanted to
really
have
can't.
3 individuals.
Yeah, you really can't put a committee together unless, you have people who want to serve on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think people submitting letters of interest to be part of a committee is an idea. I don't think there's any restriction on that at all. So yeah, they could submit letters of interest, but ultimately it would be the board's decision on how many members they want on that committee in order for that to function.
So the committee rules say that it has to be
5 to 7,
3.
I believe.
I mean, they have a maximum and minimum already set, so we just follow those.
You just pick one. You would? You could pick a 5, you could indicate that you want a 5-member committee or a 7-member committee to do it. If that's what the rules have, if they have a parameter, then I would pick a number.
And our last CPIC committee was pretty big.
Yeah, but committee members come and go, so, there might be 7 that sign up, and then you say...
But there's no
okay,
reason
7,
that people can't put an application or a letter of interest in, give it to the town clerk, so we at least have an idea of the interest
Okay.
in creating a committee.
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like it would make sense yeah, I guess we do need to know who's interested in doing it aside from Nina. I don't think anyone else volunteered tonight. So
we can put an advertisement on Route 22, on Channel 22 or wherever.
Yeah, but the
That the town clerk is accepting applications for comprehensive plan committee to be formed. I mean, there's no reason we can't advertise that this is something we're interested in doing, and then if people are interested in serving on it, they can let us know.
I want to clarify, Ian, though, that what Nina had said was that what she had suggested was that we move ahead with the zoning changes for affordable housing, and then kind of hold the comprehensive plan open for a while to make the changes that this committee would theoretically recommend. Is that doable? Because if it's not doable, it is kind of complicated in terms of meeting the deadlines we wanted for.
So on this issue, the suggested changes and amendments to the zoning code, when this was first discussed, my recommendation to the board was to, if they're going to do that, you should also check the comprehensive plan and make sure the comprehensive plan talks to the suggested or proposed amendments. They need to correspond with each other. Based on that recommendation, the board retained AKRF. AKRF then did a proposal for us. Within that proposal, they had all sorts of amendment changes. They were discussed at an open meeting, and along with that were also recommended changes to the comprehensive plan. I have not been tasked with reviewing the comprehensive plan and those amendments. You've hired AKRF to do it. Based on what I've read, I think it's a very good idea to do so. I haven't analyzed it to tell you that I haven't been authorized to do that. It's been AKRF's suggestion to do so. I don't disagree with that. I think it's wise to do it. The comprehensive plan has not been reviewed in a very long time, so I think updating and making sure that's buttoned up and addresses the amendments that you are seeking to make is a wise decision.
Well, the comprehensive plan certainly talks a lot about affordable housing and the need for the town to encourage it, so it doesn't conflict with any of that in terms of the intention. What I'm concerned about, though, is that if we say we're redoing the comprehensive plan, it is a much bigger thing than just making housing changes to the comprehensive plan. And I do understand that if people are, that we are long overdue for looking at the comprehensive plan. I just think we have to be, sort of conscious if we're setting up a committee to do that, it's a pretty big undertaking if we're talking about really making comprehensive changes to the comprehensive plan. So I don't want to delay the affordable housing change to zoning if we're able to, as Nina said, put a pin in it and form a committee or start a process to do that. But the whole point of this has been to make sure that the affordable housing changes come sooner rather than later, so that we can get that going, since the need is so desperate.
The problem is like we heard tonight, there is serious bits that need to be added factually. It just needs to be added factually, and I think unless somebody on the town board is going to walk them through it and think through for the rest of the town, what's missing there factually, then you know, we've got AKRF doing the best they can, saying DDSO is still the largest employer. I'm not sure that's true. I'm not positive that's still true. I would say Pauling Corp or somebody else, but not that. I mean, somebody's got to really take the time. Nina started. Other members of the audience have done that. They've looked at it we have a massive amount of work to do. We can't look and make all those changes and do all the research. And AKRF isn't really in a position to see the glaring, factually incorrect things that are, you know, no longer true in 2022.
But I think we have to be really clear. If we're basically changing the comprehensive plan to deal with the housing changes and to bring it up to date, then that's one thing. If we're opening up a comprehensive plan for the 10 or 15-year update, then that's a bigger project and a bigger process. So I just want to understand which we're talking about.
Those are two totally different endeavors.
Right.
Right. So I think Nina laid it out very well. It was recorded, and she said we can do a very compartmentalized look at what the changes have already been recommended by AKRF and say, we can't let this go in the way it is. Let's update this and this, but not open it up to all kinds of different opportunities.
Well,
Just
so far
limit
they're
it.
only doing what they've been asked to do.
Sorry?
So far they're only doing what they've been asked to do.
Right, but they don't see the missing,
Right.
factually incorrect things.
And in this
because
process,
that's
we've
not her-
discovered everything else.
So residents can see, oh, that
Right.
doesn't ring true.
Right.
We already did that.
But when we
It's
changed,
missing the rail trail.
but when we changed the solar code, I mean the solar, right, the zoning for solar a couple of years back, that we didn't update the master plan, we didn't touch the master plan.
No,
So-
but there wasn't anything that was really, well, first of all, there was New York State mandates to do a lot of what we did in that plan.
Okay.
Number two, there were things that we did that were consistent with the plan with regards to specifically solar farms. That's why we addressed solar, you and I personally addressed the solar farms the way they were addressed. So most solar in the town made it a very easy application process. There's a New York State permit that that we adopted as part of our permitting to put solar on your home. But if you were going to put up solar panels in your backyard, there was more regulation to that. Then you did, and we basically said no solar farms. So that's why it's why I don't believe, that's why I think and thought that it's not necessary in that situation. What's going on here, and I haven't analyzed this because I haven't been asked to yet. If the board wants me to, I will. But again, AKRF has done this.
She said you recommended that we do the comprehensive plan. It wasn't her recommendation. It's your recommendation to the town board. that-
Well, we do have
It was
someone.
my recommendation to the town
That's
board
right.
that it
We
be
do have
analyzed.
someone
Right,
here
and we
from.
hired AKRF. AKRF didn't come to us and say, we got to
No,
do this plan.
no, that-
Right, okay, I
correct.
just want to
Yeah,
clarify.
correct.
Well, we do have someone here from AKRF.
Oh, really?
Yes, we do.
Oh my God, you didn't identify yourself.
Well, nobody introduced him.
He's making notes.
Oh, well, he could be a reporter. They're changing all the time at the military news.
So, yeah, it would not hurt to
Pretty
have
much daily, I
AKRF's
think.
professional opinion at this juncture to understand how a committee might or might not assist in reviewing the changes that have been proposed.
It would be nice that you introduce yourself, though.
I can do that too. My name's Peter Farrow. I'm a colleague of Ashley's. She had actually two other commitments this evening, and so she asked if I could come in her stead, and obviously I'm happy to. I think that there are a number of different ways that comprehensive plan updates can go in a lot of different directions, and I think a lot of them have been discussed tonight. I think it was our understanding that the town was looking for a comprehensive plan update to go along with the zoning law, and so that's what we did. And once we got in, we said, well, updating these tables pretty easy. Updating a little bit of this is pretty easy. Got some direction here and there, and so I think there are a number of different directions that it could go from here. I would be happy, and we would be happy to kind of sit down with Ian, with you, with whomever else, and kind of look more closely and see if there is kind of a middle ground, a third track, because I hear the concern about opening up a comp plan and looking at it. They can go, right? They can have their own mind, which is a good thing, right? This is what planners like to do. We like to plan. On the other hand, it could be challenging to also accomplish your goals in a timely fashion on the affordable housing if that's where it goes. So I think we'd be happy to look for kind of a middle ground, or a middle ground's the wrong way, but like a different path, a third path that maybe kind of puts the best of two worlds together. See if that's an option, and we can look more closely at it. Right, we came into it with the understanding that the goal was to update the plan in some way, and so we kind of started from there. And so taking a step back to kind of see what is in the plan, and make sure there are no kind of glaring kind of contradictions, then we'll be happy to take a closer look at that and do that and see if we can't find a different path, if that's what the board would like to do. If the board would like to go in a direction where, we're really just kind of stripping down a lot of things and looking at just, very narrowly, we can do that too, right? We can work in a number of different directions, whatever this board, desires to do, and we're happy to sit down with you, with Ian, whomever, and kind of do that so that it can be done as quickly as possible to advance the goals that you have and that you share. Like, that's the end of the day, that's what we're trying to do.
Charlie, go ahead.
It'll be really quick, because I just want to be clear. The zoning, the local law changes that have been proposed by AKRF are completely in line with our current comp plan. So Ian, this is where the confusion is.
Right.
I think we're asking the question clearly, because those are very directly correlated with what the current comp plan is, those zoning changes should be able to move forward without changes now to the comp plan, correct?
Again, I've never been tasked with analyzing that specific question.
You have, but you have reviewed the draft local law changes, and you've made comments to the town board on those.
Absolutely, and my recommendation is that it should have been reviewed, and that's why we did the whole review with AKRF. I mean, it's in their initial memo.
Scope of work, yes,
Right.
yeah. But you've reviewed the work that they've done for local law, and what I think the town board is asking is, as many of the town board members believe, as I do, I think AKRF also does, that those changes are in line with the comp plan as it is.
That's not what AKRF put in their report.
I don't know. I think we gave them the scope, which was to look at the comprehensive plan.
The scope, and they regurgitated it back to you because that's the scope you gave. That's my understanding. You set the parameters, and they said, sure, we can do that.
Our comp plan is very housing-centric.
He just made comments, all he did.
I would...
He made comments.
I made comments on the law.
None of the other board members made comments. The only comments they received are from the Amenia Housing Board and the attorney, no one else. And right now, as we speak, the planning board is reviewing it.
Yes. What we're trying to, I think, come away from this meeting with is a clear, the zoning changes can move forward on its own path because they are supported by our current comp plan. And on a separate path, it sounds to me like the board is contemplating setting up a committee that will have a specific focus of updates to the comp plan, that many of them will be based off of the statistics that AKRF has added, and cleaning up a lot of the other, data points there. But I'm asking specifically about the local law changes that have been proposed by AKRF, that they are in line with our current plan.
Could you let him speak, please?
Yeah, I'll address it. So, I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage only because my institutional knowledge is not as great as Ashley's. But, our offices are pretty close. I think the best thing for us to do, and I don't mean to duck this completely, is not to give you an answer tonight, because I would really rather take the time to look through it, have Ashley look through it, have us talk together, have us sit with Ian and you, and make sure, because I don't want to stand up here and say yes and have myself be incorrect and have you be on the hook for adopting a law that everyone wants that might have a procedural issue. I don't want to do that to you, so I would rather take the time. I'm not talking about a lot of time, right? This is not a lot of time. But instead of me standing up here at 9:15 at night and saying, yes, like it is, or no, it's not, I would like the opportunity to kind of work with Ashley, work with Ian, and make sure we get you the correct answer, and an answer that we all can support as a team to get you to where you want to be.
Okay, my feeling is that we either have to make zoning changes that are just about affordable housing, or we kind of open up the comprehensive plan to updates and other, if we do that, other people can, if we're changing the comprehensive plan, it seems to me other people are able to bring things that they want changed. I've already been told we should do something about green energy, and that's all lovely, but it seems to me it totally derails what we're trying to do, which is make just the changes we need to encourage affordable housing. So, my feeling is that's the cleanest way, and if we can do it that way, that would be my preference, because I think the comprehensive plan needs an update anyway, and what we had said last time to people was that we wouldn't do anything more than the minimum.
So if that's the sense of the board.
Well, that's me, the board.
Right, no, I understand, right? So if that's the sense of the board, if that's the direction, then let's take that and kind of give you that answer so that you have the information and you can make the decision. That's what I'd rather do.
Clear, you haven't worked with Ashley on this.
Could you, please?
I just want to be clear, have you worked with Ashley on the code and are familiar with this? Or are you here, representing them and taking notes to report back to her?
I did not work on developing them. I've reviewed them. I've reviewed the comp plan updates, but I didn't work on developing them, no. You're right.
So actually, we need to make a decision whether we just want to proceed with the local law.
Well, I think that, my understanding is the local law is working its way through the town's process right now, right? And I don't see any reason why that couldn't continue. I think the question is what is the scope of what has to happen around that local law with respect to the comprehensive plan, which while kind of related, operate on different procedural tracks, right? And I wouldn't want to recommend slowing down the law just because of whatever may or may not happen on the comp plan side.
So that's already in process, because I know the planning board is reviewing it.
They're reviewing the zoning, or they're reviewing the comprehensive plan and the zoning, just the zoning?
I think they're reviewing the zoning,
Okay, so that wouldn't impact that process.
Right, and so I would be happy to, to work with Ian or Ashley would work with Ian, and let's just get you the answers that you want, and if that's the sense of the board. If the sense of the board is, let's try to narrow down what we have now in terms of the updates, then we can do that too. Or if one's dependent on the other, what have you. I think we can get on the same page about
So we
this.
need to wait until, we're not taking any more public comment, Sharon.
I'm speaking to this.
Well,
I'm the only member of the public here, and if I can't add something, it might be creative and helpful. That's your privilege.
okay, so I'm just trying to get clear on what we're going to be doing moving ahead. So we're going to follow the path that we've already started with the local law to change the zoning to accommodate our affordable housing goals. Is that correct?
I would recommend that you keep advancing that goal. There are, even if everyone here said, we love the comp plan update, we want to adopt it today, there are still procedural steps that have to happen.
Well, there's several
hoops.
Several public hearings, for one thing.
Exactly. And so,
But I think
right.
it seems to me that since the Housing Board has given comments for the local law, is that correct?
I haven't seen the Housing Board comments. I was told that the Housing Board presented comments to Ashley.
To Ashley,
Correct.
and then,
And I made
then
comments
you
to the
made
board.
comments. And it was sent to the board, and nobody on the board made comments to date. So at this point, and right now, the planning board has it.
That's my
So
understanding, yep.
So we need to wait to see what the planning board said. And at some point, doesn't it need to go to Dutchess County Planning?
Yes, it does.
And that's after the planning board makes their comments, or can it go at the same time? I know there was a schedule.
I mean, it could go at the same time. We had suggested it kind of go after in
Yeah,
case
go
there
after,
are,
right
in case there
after
are
we
kind of
got.
tweaks.
So,
Kind of want it in its final
so the
form
local
before it
law
goes to the
is
county.
in process right now. So we just need to
And to
let it go through the process.
Right, and to be clear, it was always anticipated that that whatever was submitted as a draft comprehensive plan update would not be the last thing that is written about it, that it would be updated based on comments and public hearings. And so I don't want to give the sense that all of a sudden this whole process is like we're throwing it out the window. Like we're not, right? You have it moving on this process, and we're advancing it. And I think this is a positive step in that direction, even though it feels a little different. So I want to keep that going.
Peter, I guess my question, I mean, the one question is, can we continue to move ahead with the local law and not make changes to the comprehensive plan? In other words, can the local law go into effect, assuming that the planning board and Dutchess County approve it, even if we haven't changed the comprehensive plan?
So that's the question I want to get an answer to you for.
Right.
I'm sorry I can't give it to you tonight, but I would like to give you a...
But we are going to move ahead with the process for the local law.
Yes.
So
And I would like
right
to give you
now,
a
I mean, we
more
need to
thought-out
wait
answer.
for comments. We're also waiting to my comments from the planning board attorney in addition to the planning board. So we're waiting for responses. So we're going to continue to follow the process for the local law for affordable housing, because that was the initial plan going forward.
I do want to clarify, when the suggestion for the local law and the zoning changes came into effect, it was my suggestion that we analyze the comprehensive plan. That was my suggestion. And for reasons that were discussed in the executive session, there was very specific concerns about potential legalities with proceeding not doing that. That was the reason and part of the drive behind bringing AKRF into this event. That is why they made the recommendations, and from their recommendations, that's how this process started. I don't disagree with what they've presented, but again, I haven't sat and gone through the review that they've done. I mean, you're not going to pay me to do it and then pay AKRF to do it. It didn't make any sense. So that's why I think we are where we are right now. But I will work with Ashley, and I can call Ashley, and we can discuss that. And if I have to get more involved to give a legal opinion to the board, then I can do that.
Well, to be absolutely clear, what I want to know is if we move down the path with the with the changes to the local law. Are we going to get stuck at some point because we haven't made the same changes to the comprehensive plan? And again, if the issue is one of conflict, then the comprehensive plan is very, very clear about what it wants from affordable housing. So I just want to make sure that that is a correct interpretation, that we can move ahead with the zoning law, and it won't get tied up or challenged or whatever because we're touching the comprehensive
Well,
plan.
so those are, I will say those are two different things, tied up or challenged. One is a process to get the law adopted, and one is, I think, referring to what Ian was saying about potential challenges
to the law.
after a process is completed. Can you adopt zoning without touching the comprehensive plan? Yes, we do it all the time. You do it all the time. In this instance, you're asking if, kind of what your exposure is, what is kind of legally planning defensible. And I think that's a question that I'm not sure we started from the premise of we should update it, let's do it, so we can take a look at it and see if there are ways to separate them and keep them separate, and then whatever you do to that side of it is fine. And I'll be happy to get you
But we are going
information.
to move ahead with the local law.
Absolutely. I think that's perfect. I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Just need to know if we can separate.
Understood completely.
Okay.
I'd still like to say something because I think it'll be helpful.
Okay, Sharon?
It appears to me that your best hope should be for a mature committee that works effectively with a chairman who can coordinate with all these concerns and can get the thing moving so that those of you who are in a hurry can satisfy the needs and still get adequate consensus. And it is possible, but I think you have to give it a chance. And I'm not willing to be the chair. But you need a coordinational person who can facilitate compromise if necessary, where necessary, and communicate adequately with your planners.
Microphone, Sharon.
Microphone.
Who can communicate properly with the town supervisor and the board, and with the planners, and with your lawyers, all at the same time. I think you better start with letting whatever the housing committee reported out, let it being public, because I don't know that that's public, is it?
Well, they've been having several open forums.
But you mean the law, Sharon? Are you
Well,
asking?
I mean, the housing committee evidently made a report, at least I heard it somewhere being reviewed by somebody, but did the public get to see it?
I think that was supposed to happen at the next meeting, Victoria?
I think she's referring to the Housing Committee making comments on
To
the
the
zoning,
comprehensive plan.
well, to the zoning
updates.
law.
And the zoning
The
law.
zoning.
Yeah, I mean,
Important to see.
Would you please stop speaking out from the audience? Is there any other town board comment? Not, I make a motion to adjourn,
I have a-
unless you have something.
sorry, but the Recreation Theater Arts program started on Saturday. The next program, the next 2-hour workshop is on Saturday, the 29th at 2 o'clock, noon to 2 p.m. at in the auditorium, and it's 3rd through high school students, and it is free, and finishes up mid-December with a performance. So 3rd through high school students are welcome to still join. We just started last Saturday, and it will be a holiday theme. And anybody with interest in theater and a vocal and dance, that's what they'll be doing for a musical review. Veterans Day is going to be Friday, November 11th at 11 a.m. The ceremony's at the old M&T Bank, soon to become Millbrook Bank, and it will be at Fountain Square at 11 o'clock. That's put on by VFW Post 5444. I would like to suggest that we allow Leo to apply for a grant for the theater arts program for long-awaited, long-overdue portable sound system from Berkshire Taconic Community Foundation's Quest program. I would write it on behalf of the Rec Commission, but I'm a board member, so I would pass the information along to Leo, and he's agreed to do that. The equipment would be a Fender portable sound system with a couple of microphones and such, and I propose $1,000. So it's $600 for the sound system. You can lug it around to different events. You can take it outside.
Are you making that motion?
If anybody is opposed to it, let me know. Otherwise, I'll make the motion. Or maybe I'll just make the motion. You can vote it down. Okay, I make a motion that we authorize Leo Blackman to apply for a grant to the Berkshire Taconic Community Foundation's Quest program to purchase a sound system for a maximum of $1,000 for the theater arts program on behalf of the Rec Commission.
I'll second that. Question, wouldn't the Rec Commission have to comment on that?
Pardon?
Wouldn't the Rec Commission have to comment on that?
I guess I would assume that if they didn't want it, then they would nix it. And
We've
we
already
wouldn't put
spoken
it
to
in.
him. I was there, I mean, I heard it.
So they've already,
speak to them on
they've suggested it?
They
Paul
did
was
not
aware of
suggest
it.
it. Oh.
No, Paul was aware of it because they don't know, he doesn't know about the program. He's only started,
theater
being
arts
chair of the, right, he's only chair of the rec committee recently, but I do remember you informed him of that, and he seemed to be,
I think I did mention it, but if they're opposed to it, then I guess we
Well,
just
that's
wouldn't
my,
put it in.
it's just procedural. I mean, I didn't.
So we could
yeah.
say with the, upon the condition that the Rec Commission is.
That's better.
in favor.
Authorizes.
Authorizes,
Yeah.
What are we using this for, the dance?
It ostensibly will be to do their final program, but I think once we own it, we can then use it for celebrations and recreational announcements and
Yeah, well, I
Christmas tree
don't
lightings and such.
know why the Recreation Commission needs to
So-
even be involved in. I mean, we're buying this for the town use, right?
We would be buying it for the theater arts program ostensibly because that's what the program supports. And it does
You mean to get the
provide
grant,
that.
you need to do that. To get the grant, it needs
To
to be
get
the
the
theater
program,
art
right.
program.
And the problem with with the town itself applying for this grant is that it doesn't specifically specify municipalities. It says organizations. So I think the commission would be eligible.
By organizations, does it mean 501(c)(3)?
It says nonprofits separately. So I don't know that, they should have said 501c3, but anyway, I talked to the head of this program, and she suggested it come in by the commission.
Well, I mean, I can call Paul tomorrow to just make sure he doesn't have any objections. Why don't we just say?
And if we're not eligible, we're not eligible, it won't go in, but
But
it's
they're-
November 5th, so.
But they're not a nonprofit. They're part of the town.
Right, so if organizations means that you have to be a 501c3, then that will not work.
Well, we can get what we've done before is partner with a 501(c)(3).
What kind of grant is it?
It's a fund at Berkshire Taconic that provides.
It's not a reimbursement grant, it's a grant?
No, it's a
so
straight
an
out
outright? Okay.
grant. They provide it and there's no match required. And they support extracurricular activities for Weebatuck students, and it's designed to provide artistic experiences, educational experiences that aren't otherwise covered by our Weebatuck School District. So it's a supplemental extracurricular, and this program does provide those kind of services to the kids. So they were very excited about it. It's a discretionary fund at Berkshire Taconic, and we fit it. The question will be, I guess, is whether I absolutely need it to be from the commission or from the town, and are we 100% eligible? I could come
And
back
that's part of
and
the
make this
application
motion.
process, though, right? I mean, it's part of the application process. So, I mean, if we're eligible, we're eligible. If we're not, we're not.
Right.
Um,
No
I-
loss.
I
No
think-
But we can,
We
we
should
could
determine-
actually partner with another
It's due
501(c)(3).
November 5th, so.
I know, but the Historical Society
They might.
has done that with us before.
Can I make a suggestion? Can you call Berkshire Taconic and just clarify whether, who has to apply
Yeah.
for this?
Yeah, but they won't answer tonight.
No, but.
No, but we could just set up a special
But
meeting.
if it's due in November, we still have some time.
Yeah.
We
Well-
have to write it.
Yeah, it has to get written
Yeah.
before, their next meeting is November 3rd. Why don't we just make the resolution that gives permission to do this, assuming that we're entitled to apply?
Right, that's the first
And
question.
that there's no objections from REC, which I don't think there will be, because I'm pretty sure I was in the room when that was discussed. And then we can move ahead with it without the board having to reconvene.
Well, so we have an October 25th meeting, is that the Tuesday budget meeting? I could
Next week.
theoretically draft this up. I'm really not looking for a lot of extra work to do, but I could draft up a resolution authorizing Leo to do just as I said.
And we'll have some more
As I
answers at that
said, you
point.
guys have a special meeting
Yeah.
you just set up. You could do this at that special meeting. That would
Right.
give Leo enough
Yeah, I
time. You
always
could do
put,
the background,
other
we divide it
matters
out,
on the
you know if
agenda.
you're eligible or not. And if we're not eligible, then nobody wastes their time.
Okay, so we will table that for the next time.
Can you give me the information on that? Because I think we have another way of getting the, did you send it to me?
I sent the whole board an update on the theater arts program, and in there is a hot link. You click on the grant for Leo to write. I just sent it to the whole town.
Okay, that's great.
Okay, does it have this information too of the actual?
No, that, I just photocopied. I use this system at work, and I just thought, that works, I know how it works, and it works, it was done by somebody who was really good, so I just copied what works for them. in
Okay,
those
because I'm going to look
situations.
into, in case we're not eligible, I'm going to look into a Plan B.
Okay,
So we'll at least get the equipment into here.
And Vicki, you'll check with Berkshire Taconic tomorrow,
when they're open.
just to make sure that
Yeah.
who is able to apply.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And then October 25th, I'll have an outline of my motion turned into a resolution with very few whereases. So I suggest we use any additional, okay, here's a thought for the budget, and I can bring this up at the next meeting, our budget meeting, but I suggest and I talked to Victoria about that, we did not put any fund balance yet towards offsetting the taxes, and I know we have a good, healthy fund balance.
Yes, we did.
We did use fund balance to
Mhm.
offset the
It's
budget in this
it's-
new one?
Yes,
Okay, how much did we use?
175,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh,
The
that
last
wasn't in the
time I
original
asked,
one, so I
it
look forward to
wasn't.
seeing the new one. That's
You
great.
have it,
I know the new one, but I haven't looked
It's in
at
the
it
new
yet,
one here, right?
yeah.
because the last
So
one
if
we
there's
didn't use
any
it.
additional fund balance that we can use, I suggest we start a cap reserve fund for the new highway garage. Even if it's $10, I think we need to put in our budget a fund for any rainy day extra fund balance that we can part with should
Well,
go
we
into the
can,
highway
yeah,
garage.
we can set up a capital fund.
Okay. And then I just want to make sure it's okay if I ask Welsh, they said they could do it for free, add recycling carts at the basketball park and the basketball skateboard park and Wassaic Park at no extra cost. It's very
Sounds
easy for them
great.
to do.
To put what there?
A recycling bin.
There's
So you
already
have-
one there.
There's an option for general trash only.
Oh, you want a recycling?
So if you
Okay,
have a
that's a good
recycling
idea.
bin, you could add recycling
I
there.
love that idea, Vicki.
How do we convince deadlines, hearings, and planning? Okay, that's all. Thank you.
I make a motion, we adjourn. No one
Second.
else.
I'll second.
Time. 9:35. Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Blackman? Revillard?
Yes.
Yay.